The South Carolina Gamecocks get the job done on Saturday and keep their slim playoff hopes alive. Now, if you are a Gamecocks fan, you probably, or at least hopefully, are satisfied to this point with the way this season has gone. I should say, considering that you can't go back and change LSU or the outcome or change the outcome of Alabama. We have to be honest with ourselves, and as an outsider that looked at the program coming into this year, I was skeptical, and I had a lot of conversations with Nolan, who's our oldest. He's a big South Carolina fan. I'm partially South Carolina fan. Y'all know that when they're not playing North Carolina. I love pulling for them. It's great to have a backup team, right? But I came into this year, and I think we looked at the schedule, and I said, man, it is going to be tough. We thought Oklahoma was going to be better than they were. We thought Alabama, of course, was going to be hard. LSU, Texas A&M, you start stacking up those games, and you say to yourself, can South Carolina even get bowl eligible? Can South Carolina even win 5 games or 6 games? Are we going to see enough improvement from this team? And man, this team has figured it out. And I continue to say week after week when I come on here, if you're looking for the top 12 when you're making your analysis for who's going to be in the playoff and you're looking for a team that's the hottest right now, you have to throw the South Carolina Gamecocks into that discussion. Not even taking a step back and looking across at what's happening in the rest of the college football landscape. It's going to be tough. It is going to be tough when you see how the standings shake out right now in the SEC. Pulled them up before. One, we have to give kudos to South Carolina for their best finish, and I just had it pulled up here, in the SEC at 5-3 since the 2017 season under Will Muschamp. That was their second season under Muschamp. That was his best season. Finished overall at 9-4. Won the Outback Bowl. Highest ranking that they got in the college football rankings was 24th. This year, it feels like folks are starting to recognize the Gamecocks. Is it a little too late for them to make a run? Possibly. But they can still close out this year strong. We can go ahead and say, barring a miracle in the football universe, they should win next week. And that'll pair them up against Clemson. Clemson also likely going to take care of business as well. So you're looking at a top 25 matchup between Clemson and South Carolina. That is going to be good football on rivalry weekend. Speaking of Clemson, and I know this is about the Gamecocks and their win over Missouri, but Clemson is, like, regardless of what happens the next 2 weeks, they are waiting. They need Miami to drop another game, so one of their last 2, which is possible, or SMU to lose 2. So they can't do anything. They're just going to have to sit and wait. I think even if Clemson is, or they're 7-1 in the ACC, if they finish with their 2 losses overall, without an ACC championship in the mix, I don't see them making the playoff. Like, the ACC itself will probably get the 1 bid. Possibly, if it's SMU and Miami and both, and we just have a heck of a game, you may sneak in 2 teams, but it's going to be very hard. And if South Carolina can keep playing well, I think they will apply pressure. Now, I'm waiting to see. I know the AP poll, it doesn't make as much of a difference as the college football playoff rankings, but it still would be nice to know where people think they are. Trying to crack that top 12. What exactly is that going to look like? But hey, enough of that. Let's talk about the finish, folks. Man, that was a heck of a finish for South Carolina. When you watched Missouri go down, score that huge touchdown, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. Not good at all. Then to see, because, well, number one, it was a 4th down play, if you recall. 4th down, and they throw. I've seen a lot of teams doing this lately in the NFL and in college, making a decision on those, like, 4th and short or 4th and medium, whatever you want to call it, just taking a shot downfield. And I don't know if it's because they think the defense is going to be playing up, if they think the defense is going to be protective, trying to stop the run, if they're trying to get an offensive pass or defensive pass interference. That's always a possibility. But that dude for Missouri, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but he made one heck of a catch. I mean, it was like a one-handed snag that he pulls in. And for me, I was like, man, this is going to be a tough finish for South Carolina. But the way that LaNorris Sellers came alive, put together a winning drive, cap it off with Rocket Sanders scoring the touchdown to go ahead, and the defense doing their job. Now, it might have been a miracle for Missouri to even have a chance to bounce back, but it was one heck of a game, man. That was huge. So you win the Mayor's Cup with the Battle of Columbia. I think this is the first time South Carolina's knocked them off in quite a few years. Was it up to 5? Sorry, folks, I don't have it right in front of me right now, but I know this was a big win for this team. So now you close out this year and you look at what can success be. So if you get the win next week, you're talking about 8, and then you go over to Clemson, and we won't get too far ahead of ourselves because we know that game is going to be tough. But if we could get to 9-3, speaking of the Gamecocks, then you go into a bowl game. Now, with the logistics of the college football playoff and the New Year's bowl games and like all this stuff, I don't know how that trickles down into teams outside of the top 12 and impacting those big games. But you would think if they can finish this thing off and maybe they're not in the playoffs, that they should have a primetime bowl game, which means you should have most of the players playing. Now, we know there's still going to be opt-outs for guys that are going to the NFL or likely going to the NFL and transfer portal, all the new nuances to the bowl season. But either way, you would have a chance to potentially go out there and win 10 games. And as I look at this, I do think this has to be a building block for this program. I feel like they have proven to everyone around the country, recruits, kids, fans, they can compete. And there's no doubt that that environment that you see at South Carolina on Saturday nights is one of the best in the country. I mean, I sat and watched Wake Forest in North Carolina last night. We all know North Carolina's a basketball school. I like football, so I pull for them in football too, of course, but it's nowhere near as close. I mean, hardly anybody in the stands. That's a whole nother story. But that's why I say when you compare the environments and what that can bring. Now, the shakeup in the standings, LSU is crumbling, which is good news. I just don't think I know if there's enough, because the way the rankings have positioned themselves right now, Texas in the conference is 5-1. Texas A&M is 5-1 now. We know they're going to be squaring off. Georgia is 6-2, so they're finished in SEC play. Tennessee dropped again, so they're 5-2. They got one more to go. Alabama's 4-2, and then Ole Miss is 4-2. So you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. To put that in perspective, if you think about the 4 automatic qualifiers, and then the addition of Notre Dame, so that gets you to 5, and then one more being the group of 5, you got 6 bids up for grabs. And when you're stacking these things up, it's going to be tough. It would be tough unless South Carolina continues to take care of business. And there's not really business to take care of this week. You just win. But the Clemson game, if there's just a way that they obliterate them, if Clemson somehow finds themselves in the ACC championship game and were to potentially win, and you just had South Carolina knock off the ACC champion, I think you compile all those things together and you could make a very strong case for the Gamecocks getting into the playoffs. But either way, great game all around. If you're a Gamecocks fan, I know you got to be excited. That's going to do it for what I got today. Y'all have a good one.